Hi everyone, Father Sam here. This one's a little bit lighter fare. It's nothing really important. I just wanted to tell you some stuff because every once in a while people will ask me if they come into the office or if they're watching one of these videos, they want to know what's behind me, what's going on the wall there. So I'm going to tell you all the stuff that I have hanging on my wall because I actually really treasure some of these things. So then on the wall right behind me, you'll see up at the top, there's it's a picture in a kind of a wide frame, and it's got pictures of sheep. There's some sheep, there's a shepherd's staff, there's a shepherd's hands holding out feed to some sheep. It's pretty cool. That was given to me by a young woman who is now a religious sister, Sister Grace Marie. She was involved in a campus ministry program that I helped with when I was in the seminary, and she gave that to me as an ordination gift. She surprised me and showed up at my ordination. She came from Iowa. She drove all the way from Iowa to come to my ordination in Bridgeport. And she grew up in Iowa, farming. And so the hands of the farmer holding out the feed to the sheep is actually her father's hands. And she wrote me this beautiful note. It's on the back. You can't see it. But on the back of it, she took all these pictures of her sheep, of her father's hands. And she said, as you take on the role as spiritual father and as shepherd of souls, I want you to always remember that the Lord is your shepherd, and he calls you now to share in that role as a shepherd. So it's this beautiful note, and every time I look at that, I'm reminded of somebody who I know that I was able to help in her own growth in faith, and I know that now, as a religious sister, she prays for me. And so I'm very grateful to her for that gift. So that's what that picture is. Then right below it, you'll see a picture of a very young Father Sam. I am 21 years old in that picture, and that's a photograph of me meeting Pope St. John Paul II back in 2004. It feels like so long ago, but I had the chance to meet him shortly after I arrived in seminary in Rome. I was invited to go on a tour, and part of the tour included an audience with the Holy Father. I got to meet him, I got to shake his hand, and people always wondered, what did you say to him? And the answer is, I didn't say anything. I was terrified. I couldn't believe that I was in the presence of John Paul II, and I was so excited, so I just took his hand, and even though he was very weak physically, even though it was a time when he couldn't do very much on his own anymore, he gripped my hand so hard. I always remember the strength of his grip, even though everything about him seemed so weak. He was still so strong, and the look in his face and his eyes, it was just very powerful. So that's a picture of me getting to meet Pope St. John Paul II. Then in the center, there's a crucifix. That crucifix once belonged to my former pastor, Monsignor Larry McMahon. Monsignor McMahon was my pastor at St. Mark's in Stratford when I was growing up. He was the pastor there forever. Any of you who are from St. Mark's, you remember how long Monsignor McMahon was there. He was there as pastor over 30 years. And he was a great influence in my life. He gave me my first communion. I served Mass for him countless times, and even as a seminarian when I would go home and visit, and then when he retired, he lived down the street from our seminary in Stamford, and he would come by and we'd go for dinner, and he was just always such a good and holy influence in my life. And I was very privileged that he was able to be at my ordination, be at my first Mass, and then a couple years after that he passed away. And one of the things that I was able to do for him that I still treasure as a spiritual memory was I was able to visit him in the hospital and be one of the priests who gave him the sacrament of the anointing of the sick before he passed away. And I know a lot of other priests did that, so I'm not in any way unique, I'm not in any way heroic for doing that, but what a privilege it was for me as a priest to go to this priest who had influenced me in so many ways and give him that sacrament. This crucifix he had given to another priest who then gave it to me after his passing. And so I was very privileged to have this crucifix, and I really treasure it. All right, then over here on this side, you're going to see just looks like a plain piece of paper in a frame. This is one of the cool little souvenirs that I've picked up over the years. I was studying in Rome at the time that John Paul II died, and so I was able to be at his funeral, and then I was able to also be present in Rome in St. Peter's Square when Pope Benedict XVI was elected, which was a phenomenal experience. It's unreal, unlike anything I've ever been able to do. And so the frame there that you see with the piece of paper is courtesy of one of our priest faculty members at the seminary who was also a canon of St. Peter's. He snagged a whole bunch of unused papal ballots, and so I have this ballot from the election of Benedict XVI. It's unused, so that means that it was an extra. It was not like a ballot that had been filled out and then was like secretly squirreled away or anything. No. This was an extra. It was unused, and so he gave them to a bunch of us. So this is a really cool little treasure that I've got. I like it. Let's see, what else do I have over there? Oh, then the next picture over there, you'll see another very young Father Sam. This is my second year in the seminary in Rome, and I was given the privilege of proclaiming the first reading in English at the Pope's Mass for the Epiphany. So I like to tell people that's a picture of Pope Benedict XVI listening to me because I'm doing the reading from the book of the prophet Isaiah for the Feast of the Epiphany. That's about 2006, I want to say. So that was one of the really cool experiences that I got to have. So those are the pictures that you have that are behind me that I have in my office, and I hope you like them. I really enjoy having this stuff, and that's what this office is all about. All right, that's all I got. God bless you.